This is Reimagine the Contact Center. I'm Marc Bernstein, and today I'm interviewing Kish Sharma, founder and CEO at Bling AI. One of the things that really struck me about this interview is I think it's a great example of what's going to be happening in the AI space in general. Bling builds a communications platform, and you first think to yourself, do we really need another CCaaS, another UCaaS? Is there really room for another player in the space? And it seems like the answer is yes, as long as you are finding underserved or unserved customers and you're building something novel that the market hasn't seen before, there is room for new entrants. And I think that's the sort of dynamic we're going to see play out in the AI space in general, where you got to look for an underserved segment, you got to build something novel. And as many players flood into this space, still there will be room for everybody, or at least most everybody, as long as you're building something useful. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode as much as I did. And everybody, here is Kish Sharma at Bling AI. Kish, hey, good to see you, buddy.
Hey man, how are you, Marc?
Good. I'm really good. People are saying, what's founder mode? Is founder mode some kind of like BS thing, or is there some real juice to it? And the way we met, well, actually, do you want to tell the story how we met?
This big customer, which we recently acquired in Q2, they came to us and they were with one of those big boys, old school, telephony system, and they wanted to get a better alternative. And when they came to us, they asked us a simple question: Hey, we use Balto right now for our live agent coaching. Can you do an integration with that? And obviously, just like any other founder, I said, okay, if I do it, how it's going to help you? Because I want to understand what's the ultimate impact it creates for their business. They explained, okay, we're able to perform better, yada, yada, yada. Of course, I knew about Balto, but it was important for me to hear from them. And I said, okay, you know what? If it helps you, we're going to get that done. The conversation started with the Balto team. My engineers and your engineers came together. And one of the compliments I got from my engineering team that building integration with Balto was ridiculously easy. They haven't seen uh, that kind of ease with any other software because we do integrations. I mean, all of us are in the integration business. Let me put it that way, right? Or as a software company, but doing it was very easy. We gave it in the hands of our, common client, right? And since then, I think ultimately the delight I get out of that is okay, I'm able to solve not just the problem they came for, but the bigger problem, which spans across multiple systems, by building integration with Balto and able to help our end client. Because at the end of the day, that's what matters. It's not about Bling, it's not about Balto, it's about the end client. How are they getting benefited? Are they able to do more stuff in less time and do the right things for their business? So it was an easy decision, met with you and built an integration and helping our clients do better things.
I'll toot your horn a little bit more here as well. You and the team reached out, you got our implementation folks and, said we have this joint customer. Then you ended up getting it escalated to our R&D team, and the R&D team looked at it and said, we're happy to make sure we build this integration and support it. Then you got to our chief of staff, who is also my EA. And Zick, we talk about partnership opportunities. Then you got to me, and I got to learn about your guys' business, and I got so excited by what you guys did. I said, hey, I want to introduce you to some VCs that I really respect. And I introduced you to some VCs, and then I got a text from you that said, hey, so what else can we do to work together? And I was like, let's get you on the podcast. So it's like,
Yes.
it's cool how if you just keep like, saying like you follow the thread. I talk about that with founders all the time, that there's a lot of threads that present themselves as little opportunities. And if you tug on it once, you don't really get anywhere. But if you tug on it 3 or 4 times and you kind of keep following the thread, that's how you end up getting the biggest opportunities for your business.
100%. Totally agree with you. And at the end of the day, again, that thread which you're holding on to, because you're presented with 20, 30 threads every single day. Uh, Challenge is also which thread you pick and the way you have to think like a founder, where you're going to create the biggest impact for your end customers, because that's what we live and die for, right? Like we got to make sure I'm solving the biggest possible problem in the shortest amount of time, and we'll do whatever it takes. And in this case, meeting with you, talking with you, and building a relationship going forward is a key piece to that bigger context.
Honestly, I love how you kind of put that in practice when you were talking about how the customer said they wanted to see a Balto integration, and you didn't just say, all right, sure, like right away. like you made sure, like, let me understand how this would actually bring value to you. Because it's much easier for a customer to think, I would like a Balto integration, and say, I want a Balto integration, than it is for you to actually go take your team and do the work. So just making sure that you're doing that sort of like, respectful challenging and questioning and saying, is this really the thing that's worth our joint time and attention? That's how you make sure you pull on the right sort of thread.
100%. It's all about the ROI at the end of the day. We got limited resources as startup, we got limited time, but we got multiple opportunities. And the question is always, which opportunity do I go after and where do I create the biggest impact? So it really translates from that. It's a simple framework, which I think I follow every day.
So for folks who don't know what Bling AI does, what do you guys do?
We help businesses manage all their customer communication in one place. If you are a business owner, and I want to use the example of telephony business, right? Because that's been there for a very long time. People understand telephone or phone systems easily. Right now, you have a phone system, and then you have customer communication going not just on calls and texts, but also across other channels of communication like emails, social media, web chats, and all that stuff, right? The problem for the mid-market companies really is they don't have an easy way to bring all of those channels together. They do really want it, but they either have to go through layers of integrations, hire some expensive agencies to do it, get some consultants on board, or simply they're not able to solve that problem ever. So we are democratizing that entire features, which only the big corporations or large enterprises have enjoyed till date for mid-market companies. We tell them, hey, we understand that your customer communication is all over the place. We also understand that you have been using a phone system. Come to Blink because now not just the calls and text, but other channels of also communication is also inside one application. And here's the best part. We have Bling AI, which is just a toggle. You toggle it on, it will take over all of your channels and will start responding on your behalf. Because we also understand that some of the businesses where the ticket size is high, they probably don't want Bling AI to be interacting with it. Instead, they would want Bling AI to take over after hours, like after 5 p.m., after 8 p.m., whatever it is, right, to take on the conversations and keep the conversation warm with their prospects or leads. And the goal is simple: make customer communication ridiculously easy for millions of businesses around the globe.
I was actually thinking about that. I was going on a run earlier today, and I was thinking about how we have this like interesting paradox of sorts, where on one hand, the contact center is forging ahead at the frontier of AI and the most, complex society-changing technology we have. And on the other hand, unified communications, or CCAS is still not a solved problem. Like still doing a good omni-channel experience for your customer, like flipping from one channel to the next, doing so in a cloud-based telephony. There's still so many companies out there who are on, an old, a via Cisco, setup, especially in the enterprise. So why do you think we have these two realities? Why do you think like some unified communications platform, why is that not a solved problem yet?
People are evolving as the new generations are coming in. New channels of communication are getting added, right? And that's going to continue to remain the case. When that happens, businesses needs to stay on top of all of these channels because new channels means new commerce opportunities, right? It used to be calls during our dad days and then evolved over email and then evolved over social media and then evolved over WhatsApp. And it's just growing, right? So it will keep evolving as a problem, right? As a company, we are taking a very focused approach. We look at conversations in its entirety, right? When we say a conversation on a call or a text or an email, it's a conversation. And we let's solve for conversations regardless of where it is happening. That approach, I think, has been missing from most of the major providers. And that leads to the problem which you just stated, right? Like the unsolved problem around like how do I ensure that I'm able to handle or stay on top of these channels of communication with a great ease. So inside Blink, everything, all the channels which you talk about, these are all like native integrations. You're not talking to anyone. Just go on and connect your socials, connect your WhatsApp, connect your Gmail, Outlook, or whatever it is, and it's all synced in together. And we are able to identify the patterns, meaning like based on the email ID or the phone number of a prospect or a lead, we're able to unify those conversations so that as a customer facing team, you have the full context of the conversations you have had with that specific customer, and you can make better revenue decisions and support your customers better. The channels of communication will continue to grow. as new generations are coming in, new social platforms will get launched, and businesses need to keep up with those channels of communication to ensure that they're able to cater to a wider population.
As you were saying that, I was thinking about why it's so hard to treat it as one conversation. And it seems like maybe a big part of that is that each channel has extra dimensions that the other channels don't have. So voice, has acoustic, data, and the actual audio file, and even, the pace and tonality of the speaker. So if you wanted to have that be a seamless conversation with text, you would probably need to reduce it to the transcript. So you're missing something. But then you go to text, and text has emojis. You can't really do emojis over
Correct.
voice. So text has emojis. Text has, if you're doing the iMessage, the various reactions, and you can, I think do some form of that in, with Android as well. And then you say, okay, well, maybe let's go over to email. An email, you have a whole bunch of sender recipient data that is getting
Mhm.
transferred, and you might even have images. You might have
That's right.
screenshots, you might have attachments. So
Correct.
the fact that all of these channels don't really speak a common language, seems like maybe that's the reason why it's hard to make it one conversation. Is your guys' approach like, well, you know what? We just have to find a common language. Let's reduce it to text, which, fundamentally is the thread in
Spot on.
between. Yeah.
Spot on. Right. So the way we understand conversations as a technology is right, or is every conversation gets converted into a text format. So even the audios is converted into a text format because we have calling and things like also right inside our product. Once we bring everything under in a text format, the LLM layers which we have understands the text across all of those channels and is trained on all of those channels. And that's one of the biggest strengths we have, right? And because the hard part is done, right, which is like building integrations with so many when like providers like Meta, Google, Microsoft, you know how hard it is to get integrations done with them, right? So we have done that, right? Now it's just about training the models on top of these different conversation channels, communication channels, and then train on top of it. And you made a very good point. I was reading an article the other day, right? How Gen Zs and whatever the new Gen is called, sorry, I'm forgetting, communicate, right? Apparently emojis is an important element in their conversations. Not using an emoji is considered rude, right? That's something even I'm learning as we have Gen Zs and younger members in our team, right? I got to make sure that I'm not just saying okay, I'm not just saying for informing. It has to follow with a smiley, right?
Yep.
An emoji, right? Because that keeps the conversation like real and live, right? Whatever it is. So how do you interpret those emojis? How do you understand the things which hasn't been said in the English we learned growing up in schools, right? We didn't learn what emojis are meant, right? GIFs is another thing, right? How are you understanding, GIFs? I use GIFs a lot, by the way. Those kind of things is how we're approaching the conversations in its entirety. And yes, every conversation you're spot on is a text for us, and we understand from those texts.
I wonder, let's imagine you go to like the Gen Alpha classroom or even maybe the next generation,
Gen
and
Alpha, sorry, I was forgetting.
yeah,
Yeah, Gen Alpha.
or the AI natives or the AI generation, whatever the next one is. And I can imagine you go
Right.
to classroom, and they have all the the letters across the board, and then they also have all the emojis across the board
Emojis,
too.
A for apple, B for boy, whatever it
Yep.
is. Like they have this emoji, that emoji. I'm sure that's gonna happen very soon.
One of the things that's interesting, and I think in the communication space is, what you're talking about with all of those integrations and infrastructure, and making it really a seamless experience. That's a lot
Hmm.
to bite off. And, yet folks in that communication space are also like, we have to be, forward on AI. So how do you think about where you want to put your AI chips? Because you're tackling two big challenges. How do you think
Hmm.
about, where you guys want to be putting AI into communications?
As you know, the industry is kind of divided broadly into two camps. One is the co-pilot camp, and one is the AI agent camp. Today, I'm on the co-pilot camp, right? I believe, and there's a simple reason for that, right? As a business, I want to be in full control of what my end customer experience is going to look like. And that definitely needs a lot of empathy, a lot of in person touch, which people expect. And for such hard questions, I just ask myself, like, Kish, if I have to call somewhere and whatever it is, what kind of experience you are seeking? First of all, I'm not going to call for $15, $20 thing, right? I mean, like, that's not worth the time. But if it's $500, $1,000, or anything more, I would rather expect a human to solve my problem. Of course, the first interaction could be with the AI, can collect all my information, account details, and all, but eventually there has to be human. So that's a co-pilot model, right? And that's the camp we are on as a company. Talking about AI as an agent, right? We are not on that camp yet. And the reason is we still need to see how people, when I say people, end users, find it helpful or develop an understanding. Okay, there's a machine which is trying to solve my problem, whether it's troubleshooting my computer or whatever it is, right? Or dealing with my bank account stuff. It again depends upon the vertical we are in. But I think that there is a learning curve ahead for entrepreneurs like us, as well as for the end users, because both the two things need to come on the same place, right? There are still certain verticals where I think it's going to be the co-pilot model for a very long time, such as healthcare, financing, banking, right? I mean, the other day I had to call my bank because one of the wires which I was trying to send couldn't go through and it had to go on time. And I wanted to speak to a human and solve my problem, right? If you're sending a wire for 10, 15,000 bucks to your family or whatever it is, I'm not gonna be talking to a thing or like an AI, right? It has to be a human in the less than 30 seconds on the line. AI can take my information, but put me on a human, right? So there's certain verticals for privacy reasons, for the sensitivity or for the urgency. I don't see an AI taking over very soon as an agent. But sure, Copilot, it's already happening. You are doing it, everyone else is doing it. So we are on the Copilot camp, if that answers your question, right? Because we think conversations when it comes to your end users needs empathy and understanding, and that empathy still largely human driven.
Let me poke on that for a second. Because when you were naming kind of the use cases where Copilot's going to be here for a while, you mentioned sensitive information, private information, interactions involving empathy and understanding. And when you were explaining it, you were kind of saying that there's almost a patience factor. You don't want to sit there and like wait for the AI to understand it and figure out what you mean because you got a big important, matter that you're dealing with. Um,
Right.
when AI is as good as a human agent, like you get on that voice agent and it's not making those funny boop, 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 boop. It's not doing that. It's just having a back and forth with you and it's pulling information from the system and it's moving at a good clip. Then at that point, where do you think you're still going to want to talk to people and where do you not care anymore?
I think it boils down to the kind of issue and the ticket size, for the end user, right? Let's say if I'm an e-commerce company, without an hesitation, I will probably go with, AI bots, voice for the voice side, right? Taking over my entire customer communication because, okay, I'm doing volumes and my ticket size is probably like, 20, 25 bucks, 30 bucks, stuff like that, right? For an order inquiry and all. Sure. I mean, that's never a high urgency matter, right? So I think that industry will see a faster adoption of AI voice bots. Again, I'm talking about voice. Other channels, you already have bots there, right? Because people call in when they really need to talk to someone. That also you need to understand, right? Otherwise, nobody wants to call anyone, right? The industries where you're calling and it's always a matter of urgency, such as you're buying a new home and you have to put money in the escrow and it's not going through your bank or whatever it is, right? Or you have an insurance policy which has lapsed, you want to renew it and stuff like that. I think those kind of things would still be very human centric. The AI would just be there to do the initial screening of the call and route it to the right member instead of an IVR, press 1, 2, or 3. I think that's going to go away for sure. But help you take the intake, do the security questions and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, for those high ticket, um, urgency driven items, would still be handled by humans for a long time. When I'm buying a house, it's personal. It's something, when I'm dealing with a hospital situation for myself or my family or an insurance situation, it's personal. Those things I would want a human to be speaking to me so that they understand where I'm coming from and help me out.
Yeah, it's a really cool model that I honestly hadn't thought of. What I'm taking from it is, we have these IVAs, we have IVRs, press one for blank, two for blank. Then it kind of, went into these IVAs, these intelligent virtual agents that, are robotic and they're, usually based on some sort of dialogue flow or, like business logic or branching,
Right,
but is a slightly more intuitive way of triaging, where the interactions go. And what I'm hearing you say is, well, what if we just got really good at that first part and we got really good at the triaging and basically took the old IVR and made it like an actual natural language, LLM based, voice bot that's having a back and forth with you to figure out where you need to
right.
go, and then they get you to a person. And that's a really cool model because I think that, in people's heads, what they're thinking is either it goes to an AI or it goes to a person. Which one are you going to do? And I think you're almost saying an AI could do the first 50% and then the human could pick up from there, so long
Right.
as information transfer is really clean.
That's 100% right.
Where today are you guys making the most use of LLMs at Bling?
So the way we position Bling AI is it's a simple toggle, right? So when you or your customer facing teams interacting with the end customers through multiple channels, whether it's voice, text, email, social media, whatever it is, as a team, let's say if you're short staffed on a given day, or you see a surge in inquiries or whatever it is, right? Or it's a holiday weekend, you have an option to toggle on Bling AI and can start taking all of the responses on your behalf as a team across voice, text, emails, and all that kind of stuff. The idea there is Bling AI is there to help you overcome those specific bottlenecks, which you see in your business, maybe after hours or weekend support or whatever it is, right? Like people are calling in, texting you, they need response. Generally, they need a response quickly. Bling AI will get the job done. Basically, what we do is when we onboard a new client, there are four simple questions because that's, I think, the easiest way to onboard a client, right? You ask them a question, they fill out a response to it, and then you give them a context. Why are you asking that question, right? So the questions are generally around their business, their, products and features, their FAQs. So they dump everything there. So that sets the stage for the raw dough for Bling AI to understand the context of the business. And not just that, Bling AI also learns from the historical conversations which has happened with that end client, whether Bling AI responded to it or had a communication, or a human did a communication with them. So when you toggle it on, it knows, okay, there's been previous conversation with this client through different channels, calls, text, email, social media, whatever it is. Here's the context, and here's the business context which I've been fed with. So now I should provide response which is suited and catered for this specific business and for the specific client of this business. So that's how it takes over. As an example, I was talking to a client, they're based out of New Zealand. So we are present in 20 plus countries now, our users. And they're into meal prep business, right? And, he was telling me, right, Kish, I had my Bling AI toggled on for all my channels, including my emails. And when this next morning I saw that, there was an email from a customer at like 12 a.m. their time, it's midnight, and Bling AI responded to it, and it said it did a pretty good job in telling the kind of meals we offer and all that kind of stuff. And he was very happy with it. Basically, the context is we do still expect businesses when they want to sustain control of their communication, but when they're not available or when they're short staffed, just toggle on Bling AI and let Bling AI respond to it. In an ideal world, yeah, want that to happen 24/7 for all of our clients to keep their Bling AI toggle on. But I also understand, as a business owner myself, some conversations I need to be the owner, not an AI. And again, it depends upon the kind of business you are in.
That seems like another giant opportunity that is way overdue to be addressed. 24/7 service availability. And, obviously some big enterprises have solve that with agents that are offshore or near shore. It is still like, I would say, not the norm to just think about all the different folks that you interact with in your life and where you go and get sales or customer service support, all the different institutions that you talk to. I would say it is not the norm to be able to reach out to them at 8:30 p.m. if you had a long day and you're like, okay, I'm going to bed at 9:30. I told my spouse I would I would get this thing done before tomorrow. Let me just hop on with the customer service person and see if I can get this figured out. Most of the time, they're not available. So if we can
Right.
solve that availability problem, that seems like
Correct.
a big win for businesses and the customer.
Correct. Correct. And the idea is like when businesses are keeping the toggle on for longer time, the Bling AI, which has been modeled or customized for their business, is just getting better and better. So at one day, they will keep the toggle on forever.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Right. So, but we also understand, right? As a business owner, I want to sleep on the fact that I'm in full control of my business, right? So that's why we have a toggle option, right? Use it when you need it. And when you do it and then keep the toggle on for a longer time, it's just getting better and better and better. But again, we want to make sure that our customers who are business owners, they know this, that they're in full control. It's not like they toggle it on and it's just out of control and on autopilot and stuff like that. Just like a pilot flying. They can take the plane in their control at any point in time.
Let's talk about that control for a minute, because I don't know how sustainable it is for people to keep full control over every aspect of their, experience. And I think that as AI gets better and better, we're going to have to, as consumers and business owners and management, be thinking about like, how do we get comfortable letting our hands off the wheel? How do we know the
Mm-hmm.
right guard lanes are set up, but let
Mm-hmm.
our hands
Mm-hmm.
off the wheel to let AI do its work without us trying to, because that's the whole thing. If you think about like business rules and setting up a whole bunch of, branching logic, the problem with like like a dialogue flow chatbot, isn't that you can't capture every use case. It's that it would be totally unsustainable to do so. Take you a bunch of setup. There'd always be some little edge cases. And then, to adapt throughout time, anytime you wanted to, update it or make it better, you're going and you're putting all this implementation and maintenance and tweaking. And maybe we need to get to a world where people are like, listen, I'm comfortable doing more of a hands-off approach and not having so much control and letting AI make more of these decisions. Like, what are you noticing from the market? How far do you think we are from that, from us moving in that direction?
I mean, I loved everything you just said, right? And let me pick on a specific word you said, guardrails. That's the catch. It's the guardrails, or which is tied to the control, right? Where exactly I let it go, right? And then do whatever needs to be done based on the set of business logics, which we have been using till date in the model, right? From a guardrail standpoint, right, that becomes very important because that's where you draw the line, right? Okay, when this happens, you stop, it gets escalated to a human, the human comes in and then they take over, right? If I understood your question correctly, right, I think it was a question, not a comment, right? How far are we away from when enterprises can keep this thing on full throttle, right? And again, it depends. Like for example, restaurant phone order taking. I think that has been very much automated, right? I mean, companies are spending billions of dollars in their drive-through technology or telephone orders where it's all automated, right? Bigger brands have already done that, right? So not a problem there, right? Because you have the same set of menu, you can't deflect, right? You've been serving the same 30 items for the last 2 decades or whatever it is, and you have got enough data from your call recordings and ever, so it's done, right? Those kind of industries where you have a very tight offering, fast food restaurants especially, right? And where the options are limited and you have huge data already with you, I think it's doable. That's not a problem. So I think they can go full throttle with that, right? With the industries like service-based industries, right? For example, if somebody is helping you with home cleaning services or roofing maintenance and all that kind of stuff, I think that is also getting automated pretty quickly and pretty fast because most of the calls which are coming in, they're related to getting a quote, that kind of stuff. So the AI is able to follow a template, get the intake, and provide a quote, right? But the actual sales is still happening by a human at the end of the day, right? But the AI at least generates the quote and all that kind of stuff. So again, it depends, Mark, what industry are we talking about? What's the ticket size at the end of the day, right? Which you're dealing with. If the ticket size is huge, right? Like as a business, you're paying upwards of $500 to $1,000 to a X service provider for a product or service. I think there's still time to get there because the needs are complex. Um, it's not like I'm looking for an item A and help me with item A. It's more of a I have this problem and I need a solution. Again, finance, banking, healthcare, insurance, right? Over there, it's going to take some time. So that's the way I think about it.
What do you think people need to see to have our trust in AI grow from where it is today?
I think it's the empathy, right? I mean, AI can tell you, I'm extremely sorry and apologize and all that kind of stuff very well. But when I say empathy, it means deeper, right? Sometimes, and again, this is true, I'm sure, in your sales experience, also, you might have figured out, right? Sales is also empathy at the end of the day, right? You're trying to understand the end problem they're facing because customers might tell you a problem, which might not be a problem, it could be a symptom. The real problem, understanding the real problem is our job, right? And that's what we need to understand, right? Empathy is not just being like, I'm sorry for you or I feel for you. No, empathy is don't just look at the symptoms which the businesses are telling you,
Mm,
but try to go deeper, understand the real problem. What's the real problem? I'm sure you might have experienced the same thing in your sales conversations. People will tell you many a times symptoms or not the real problem. And then when you dive deeper, you figure out this is the problem which needs to be solved. Everything else is symptoms, right? And then how you solve it, it can be solved in five different ways, which is the easiest, cheapest, and fastest way to get it done. I think that's the solution we need to offer.
you want it to engage with you, not just be a recipient of your words and then it processes and spits out more words. You want it to
Exactly.
lean in. You want it to work
Exactly.
for you. And it's funny
Exactly.
how we now have this new OpenAI O1 preview model,
Yes.
and you ask it a question, and one of the big features of this model is it'll come back and ask you clarifying questions to help
Correct.
get to the better answer. So maybe like
Correct.
that's the sort of way we want AI to demonstrate, intelligence or demonstrate empathy or demonstrate this engagement that it's leaning in, is we want it
Exactly.
to show that it's not just popping back an answer, but like trying to
Exactly.
understand us as an individual.
Spot on. Spot on. Because my needs, your neighbor needs are very different. We're different individuals, we're different circumstances. And when we're interacting with a product or a service, our needs are different, right? And that is where AI needs to do a job, right? To go further. And asking those poking questions and follow-up questions is one way to get there. But yeah, understanding the real problem, not just the symptom, is key here.
Where do you think AI will be overall 3 years from now?
Haha, visionary question. I feel like an Einstein here, right? AI will be able to take over the at least the redundant task for me, which honestly doesn't drive any incremental value to me as a consumer or as a business, right? As a business owner, I can tell you because all my decisions I make, I think from a POV of a business owner, from a POV from an entrepreneur, right? What is the incremental value I get from a specific task? Those tasks which do not give me any incremental value, revenue, ARR, whatever it is, those are redundant activities. And those parts would get automated very quickly. And they're already getting automated, right? I'm speaking the obvious. It's not something a rocket science. AI will certainly not be able to wash my clothes and fold it for me. And I wish AI could do that because that's a big problem I have, right? Doing laundry, like in my apartment, I do not have a laundry machine. I have to go downstairs and get it done. And that takes 1 hour of back and forth commute. You go to the laundry room, take out the clothes, put in the dryer. AI will not do that, right? But what AI will take care of, and that's a redundant activity. It doesn't bring any incremental value to my life, right? But I mean, that was just an example. But yeah, AI from a
The
business
physical
POV,
barrier there is
there
that
is
what
a
you're pointing
physical
out?
barrier. There is a
Yeah.
physical barrier, right? There's a physical barrier, right? Sure, Amazon comes up with a bot or something like that and buys a bunch of laundromats and sends their robots to your
Yeah.
home.
Because it could tell
goes
you how
downstream.
to do the laundry. It could tell you, hey, here's all the perfect steps. You take a picture of your laundry.
Yeah,
I could tell you how to fold each piece, but it seems like it's the actual like physical
yeah,
interaction with the
yeah.
environment that you think will
I'll
take a
tell
little
you.
longer.
Yeah, I'll tell you where the biggest opportunity is, right? Laundry and doing dishes. And an average American probably spends close to about what, 3 hours a week doing that? Three? What do you think, Mark? Right? 3 to 4, three
Honestly,
hours?
probably. Yeah.
That's a lot of time. 3 hours times 300 million, whatever population we have,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's a lot per week or whatever it is. So that's where I really need the AI to come in.
Well,
Do well. I mean, cooking, I'm good. It's personal. Cooking is
yep.
personal. When I cook with love and heart, right? Laundry, dishwasher, I don't generate any incremental value out of it. It does not give me happiness, neither it brings incremental income to my life. So that should get automated,
Well,
honestly.
Elon with the Tesla Optimus, uh,
Yeah.
that's that's the physical bot that they say they're going to have commercially available in 2025. Um, I think the idea is that thing can do dishes and laundry. And I don't know if it can go down several flights of stairs and put it in the laundry room downstairs, but I think we're going to start to see that problem being poked at least. And
Somebody's poking at it for
you're going to
sure.
go to
Somebody's
someone's
poking at it.
house and they're going to have you are next year, this is my bet. You're going to go to someone's house and they're going to have a dish washing robot next year.
So I eat, I throw my dish in the sink. The robot is just taking,
Yep.
rinsing it, tick, tick, tick,
Yep.
taking it out, and then putting it
Yep.
back where it needs to go. Sure.
We'll
Fifteen
see.
thousand dollars price tag, maybe $20,000 price tag. I don't know. Maybe
Yep.
higher.
That's what, Elon has said is should be about the price of a car. So for about the price of a car, you have this other appliance, if you will, that's in your house that will do your household chores for you. And if it is about the price of the
Yeah.
car, think about it. People will have their house payment, their car payment, and their robot payment.
You're basically hiring a maid, right? Working for you 24/7, right? Doing
So,
all of the stuff, right? Which you need to. Yeah, that's what I want the AI to really come in and save me that 3 hours of unproductive work every week. I think huge value creation is gonna happen. Huge value creation is gonna happen.
yeah, this was really fun. I
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining me. This was awesome.
Thank you, Mark, for having me.